Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Ana Velasco. I am a project technician at Maldita, Fundación Maldita, the coordinating organization of the Level Up project, under which we are organizing this event today. Before we begin, I would like to thank you all for attending the forum, and for the people that are just joining us online, which is making the majority of the attendance, and for you, the people that is joining us in person here at the Press Club in Brussels. I would also like to thank the panelists and the moderators and the speakers of today's forum. And we are going to come with a representative of the civil society, media literacy experts, members of the European Parliament, and researchers, and they all will share their experience and their knowledge with us in this challenge that is becoming increasingly relevant in today's society. That is how to strengthen media literacy and the information resilience in society, especially among older people. As we all know, Europe is an aging society. Today, 1 in 5 people in Europe is over 65 years old, and projections suggest that by 2050, 1 in 3 will be over 65. So this is a structural shift in who our societies are made of, and it will also shape the way we approach to media literacy, digital literacy, education, and information policy. At the same time, we are all aware that information and the information environment is constantly changing, and it's been more difficult to keep the path of these changes. And yet, when we talk about media literacy, we tend to think about young people. We tend to think about young people and students, and not so much about older people. But they are also present in the media literacy ecosystem. They are using digital tools, they are buying online, and they are also dealing with administrative stuff, for example, for the banks in online. So despite that data shows that the people over 65 usually share more disinformation online than younger users, it's not because they are less capable or they are not so prepared for that, but or has less critical thinking, but because for years the tools, the training, and the focus and the support has been focusing only on younger users and not so much on older people. And let me be honest with you, in my case, for example, just to show that it's not about only older generations, recently the Spanish Meteorological Agency updated their app online for the phone, and since that update, I've been unable to use it. I don't know how to use it anymore, and it's been an app that I've been using for years and on daily basis, but since this update, I cannot figure out how it works. So I'm not blaming the weather app, okay? But it's just to show that the digital challenge that we are facing is not only for older generations, but also for younger citizens and for the society as a whole. And it's in this context that we developed the Level Up project. Over the past 2 years, we've been working with our partners from Spain, Bulgaria, and the Czech Republic in order to better understand the specific needs of older adults in the digital environment, and to develop the tools that help them navigate more safely, more confidence online, and with more critical thinking. Through this project, we have developed 5 thematic modules that we will present later on about covering general disinformation, science, climate, online scams, artificial intelligence, and conspiracy theories, alongside with a video game designed for older adults. We have trained professionals who work directly with older people, and we have tested these materials with older people in the 3 countries. Today's forum is about opening a conversation on how we can build more resilient societies and more inclusive societies in which no generation is left behind. Our efforts to counter disinformation and to navigate the challenges of the digital environment will also need to focus on older generation, not only younger users. And we need to also take into account how to protect the society as a whole in this digital environment. Through the morning, we will have the opportunity to hear the perspective of policymakers, civil society organization representatives, researchers, and media literacy experts on this. And we will talk about the initiatives and the gaps that are remaining at the European level and the solution that we can help us move forward together. We hope this forum contributes to placing media literacy and the broader challenge of the digital environment on today's digital.
Berlin, is anything happening?
On the digital environment as a priority for our society. So again, thank you very much for joining us. I leave the floor for the first panel, or to Belen, who is going to introduce you the first panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Especially thank you to Anna, because she's been the coordinator of this project and she did amazing work through this 1 year and a half that we have been working together. So first I have the pleasure to introduce you Aida Díaz-Tendero, that is going to be the moderator of the first panel. We are going also to have Carlos from Maldita. Online, you already heard him, is Patrick from the European Senior Union, that he's going to join us online, and is coming right now Alicia Holmes, that she was in parliament votation, I think it's called right now, so she is coming. So I think that we are going to first I'm going to give the floor to Aida and Carlos. We are going to put the teams on the screen, and Alicia is going to join us in a bit.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and to talk about an issue that is of such paramount importance. I believe that we must understand digital literacy and media literacy from a human rights perspective. In what sense? In the sense that it is a key right. It's a right that opens the door for the fulfillment and the coming to life of an important set of rights, in this case of older persons. I'm going to start presenting the colleagues that will accompany me. Hello, so welcome.
Thank you.
So I will start with you, Alicia.
Sorry, I was voting in the parliament. That's the point.
Okay,
That's why
good excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alicia Holmes, she's a member of the European Parliament since 2019. She holds a degree in political science from the Autonomous University of Barcelona and a master's in diplomacy and international public service from the Barcelona Center for International Affairs. In the European Parliament, she serves on the committees on employment and social affairs, housing, and transport and tourism. She's also vice chair of the delegation to Chile and a member to the delegations for relations with Central America and the Euro-Latin American Parliamentary Assembly. Among her key responsibilities, she is the rapporteur on the Traineeships Directive. Also, between 2019 and 2023, she was president of the Young European Socialists. Very, very pleased to have you here with us today. On my left, I have Carlos Hernández Echevarría. She's the Associate Director, Head of Public Policy and Institutional Development of Maldita. He joined this foundation in 2020 to oversee its public policy and advocacy operation, while being a regular contributor in several Spanish media. Before that, he worked in TV news for 15 years as a reporter, correspondent, and executive producer. He has a BA in journalism Universidad San Pablo, Madrid, and a MI in Elections and Campaign Management in Fordham University Fulbright Program, New York. Thank you very much, Carlos, for being here with us. And finally, I would be very happy to present Patrick Pennick. Hello, Patrick. He's Secretary General of the European Seniors Union, the largest political organization representing senior citizens in Europe. This organization promotes active aging, intergenerational solidarity, social inclusion, and the participation of older persons in democratic and public life. Prior to joining the European Senior Union, Patrick had a distinguished career at the Council of Europe, where he served in several senior leadership positions, most notably as head of the Information Society Department and head of digital development and governance. In his capacity, he was responsible for shaping and promoting European standards and policies on digital governance, internet governance, artificial intelligence, digital citizenship, freedom of expression online, cybersecurity cooperation, and the protection of human rights in the digital environment. Thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us today. So, I would like to, first of all, to set a differentiation between, that I don't know if everybody in the audience distinguishes between digital literacy and media literacy. Because apparently, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, digital literacy means the ability to set your cookies, and things like that, to be able to upload a program, whatever. However, media literacy has to do with the possibility to understand that there's a bias in the information. So it implies critical analysis. That, in my opinion, and of course this is for you to reply, I would believe, comparing older people and maybe teenagers, for instance, that older people would be more empowered or more capable of media literacy than, for instance, my teenage sons, for instance, I would think. So let's start with the question. I would like to start with a question for Alicia and Carlos. So at a national level, it is regularly mentioned that judges have to fill the gaps in legislation because norms arrive too late most of the times. So this happens at a national level. Is it the same thing happening at the European level, that laws go far behind social real phenomena?
Okay, thank you, and sorry for being late. I was in a vote in the European Parliament. First of all, I mean, thank you for inviting, but it was Idoia supposed to be here. I mean, she's the real expert in our delegation on these kind of topics. But of course, I mean, we have many things at the same time, and it is possible to be everywhere. So I'm really happy that I'm here helping her in this case, but also talking about this topic, because I mean, I'm a young person, but I think that the empathy between generations is really important, because someday I will be old. So it's important when we do politics and we do policies to take into account all the generations. And in this case, and answering your question, of course, I mean, at the European level, we go late, because I mean, the digital everything is going faster than policies, and in the end it affects to the most vulnerable, to the ones that have more difficulties to access to it or to understand how it works, all this world. Even for me, sometimes it's difficult to understand certain things. But to the older generation, I mean, my father is 75, he's retired. So sometimes he's like, can you explain me this? And it's like, I don't even know, but I will try, no? So we need to be to take even more care with this with the older generations in order to include them, because if we are not doing policies um, that in the digital field are including their point of view. When we talk, for example, on AI, we have clear that there needs to be a feminist perspective, for example, but the AI also needs to have the perspective of the older people and of the younger people and people from all the backgrounds. Because if not, it's not going to be useful for everybody. So I think it's really important, and from the European level and in national everywhere. I mean, we are moving slower than times. The digital transformation is moving so fast. Even when we close a file, we are ready to reopen it because things has changed a lot, no? So I think it's important because the age discrimination exists. uh, I think that the battle that the far right is trying to do between generations is useless. I mean, we are here to help each other. We are here to, I mean, because I mean the elders are not going to be younger, but the youngest are, we are going to be older. So I think it's important that we try to keep away of these fights and try to think on each other.
Okay, what do you think, Carlos?
Well, I think it's as a general rule, I think legislation always follows reality, which I think is a good thing, really, because we don't want to probably put too much faith in our analysis if we don't have any actual proof of the societal problems that you have been describing. What I could what I would say probably, and as a person who works a lot on regulatory frameworks and legislation, I could also say that there is a big part of this problem that will not be solved by regulation, but the actual I hate the sentence whole of society effort, but this needs to be a whole society effort, and it goes into our capacity as a society to have, you know, pacific coexistence, understanding among generations. I don't think this right now sounds like a little controversial. It shouldn't be. It's the way it has always been. Like this needs to be a place that works for many different people across generations, across different ideologies, across everything, right? So I think on that sense, when it comes to to ensuring active participation and protection of elder people in the modern exchanges of information, I think it could be very important to, going back to the earlier question, if we think, are we too late? At the European level, is it more so, you said in the question? I could say yes, because Europe is an incredibly diverse space. So for something to be addressed here in the parliament through our MEPs or in the other institutions, it needs to be an actual pressing problem for 450 million Europeans. And I think the fact that we are paying so much attention these days to how we ensure that the civil rights of that significant part of the population are more respected online and offline, I think it speaks to the importance of the question and on the problem. I would say, as you were rightly saying, that it's easier to caricaturize elderly people as confused when they actually have a particular set of skills that gives you the fact that you have been around for quite some time, and you have been, some people have already tried to take advantage of you before the advent of the internet, before the AI. So I think that gives you, as you were saying, a very interesting view on media literacy. And then digital literacy, it's true that everybody's going to have a hard time adapting to things that have happened or have appeared in the world after they were like 40, as opposed to when they were 13. But I think the institutions do have a responsibility to address that. It's going to be through regulation and through so many other things. But I think in the end, what matters, or when we talk in these circles of media literacy, is the fact, as my colleague Lucia says very often, that kids are in school and they are reachable, and we work with public institutions to be there in the classroom, and those poor kids have no other recourse but to hearing us talk about media literacy with a higher or lower level of success, while doing this for the older generation, it's harder logistically. And it's important for us to find ways to do it effectively, and also to make sure this is not kind of a drop in the ocean, that we actually are able to accompany those people that they're not going to be reached on the school. So how do we get them? In a million different ways. Traditional media, elder centers. There are so many ways to look at it. But I think what is important to remark is that it cannot be like like this course you had as a teenager in school. This is not the way it's going to work for elderly people, I think.
And that, thank you very much, both of you. That would bring me to Patrick with this question. Is the European Parliament fulfilling its role in digital literacy and media literacy? Are there different policies to address these different issues, Patrick?
Well, I would first like to maybe scatter a few things and preconceptions. And the first preconception is, what is an old person? Who are the old people we're talking about? When do you get old? When are you young? I think that is first thing to be clarified, because in some professions you're old when you're 40, in others when you're 50. Are you talking about people that are in retirement homes? Are you talking about people that are still active and retired? So let's clarify first of all what we're talking about, and let's make sure that we don't talk about them, as I've heard a few times already, but talk together. And the key thing there is that old age and older people is not one category of people, just like youth is not one category of people. We're talking about a wide variety of ages already, chronological ages, but also mental ages. If I look at my own board, I have people starting at 50 and the oldest is 90. So we're talking about an age category which is rather large, and my oldest executive committee member is 96 for the time being. She's very active, very lucid, very prone to use digital tools, very aware of all kinds of disinformation and scams that there may be out there. So we're not talking about one category, and we have to ensure that we speak about everyone, and that we also make sure that what I learned 50 years ago or 40 years ago was we have to speak about lifelong learning. And this obviously becomes something that is even more crucial today, because, and that's the second thing I would like to shatter, is basically literacy. What are we talking about? It's not just a question of digital literacy or media literacy, but it's a question about adapting to an ever-evolving digital society. I heard sometimes we're digital natives. Sure, no one is a digital native. Who has grown up, who has gone through education with artificial intelligence? Who of this group? I don't see you, so it's a bit, I'm talking a bit blindly. But the digital evolution is such that it's not only a question of legislation catching up, it's also a question of every individual catching up. Every individual being able to display all the necessary competences to be able to deal with this ever-changing digital world. So in that sense, literacy is a wrong concept, because literacy supposes I learn the alphabet, I learn how to read, and then I can read for the rest of my life. That is the wrong concept when it comes to the digital environment, because the digital environment intrinsically basically means we are in constant evolution, especially now on top of it with the large language models which are used in artificial intelligence, generic AI, but also all agentic AI, etc., etc. So we're talking about an ever-evolving phase, and that basically already implies what I want to say, that is, we have to do it with everyone, with a human interface, intergenerational, and focused on an ever-changing environment. So digital literacy is not literacy. It is not that you've once reached that level, that you will reach it forever. Also, the digital world is an unfinished world. It's not as if, because sometimes we are led to believe that it's all clear and neat and everything knows what it's all about. That's nonsense. The digital world is evolving, and not all actors are neither benevolent, nor are they competent. When I look at, for example, any kind of website, if I want to register myself for a flight, there's quite a number of things in there which are just simply inconsistent, and they may be inconsistent simply because they have not really adapted to the digital reality, or there is a malintention of confusing in order to be able to scam people, actually. And whether that is a major company or whether that it's a scammer that is located somewhere in one of the African or Asian countries and tries to pull out money out of the users. So we are also facing an increasing problem with data integrity. We're asked to provide more and more data, and at the same time, no one tells us how they are going to protect those data. I look at it, the social security system, for example, in the country I live in, it does not protect the users. It does not protect the ones that provide the information with a protection of their data. So there's many aspects to it. And I think indeed the lawmaker, the legislator, is running after those developments. We try to be a little bit forward-looking. I was involved at the European Council of Europe level with the latest informations and the latest regulation and conventions on artificial intelligence, cybercrime, and data protection. We try to look forward, but it doesn't mean that when we finalize a product, for example, the Cybercrime Convention was developed before the existence of smartphones. So at some point we needed to say, is a smartphone, is that going to be a computer system? Because cybercrime concerns the use of maluse of computer systems in order to commit crime. So we are in an ever-evolving world, and we all need to be, not them and us, but everyone needs to be aware of a situation in which we're growing older. And the concept of digital citizenship in that respect is something that we would like to promote. Digital citizenship based on intergenerational dialogue, and that is crucial in my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much, Patrick, for landing in a more concrete way, and that drives me to the following question for Carlos. How can older persons be better protected against online fraud, scams, and AI-generated disinformation?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, but I'm gonna say that I think the same solutions that are gonna serve for everyone in terms of being a harder catch for these scammers are going to protect senior citizens and youngers and me and my mom and my kids in kind of the same place. I think it all goes probably also in the direction of these super relevant online spaces, the digital platforms. There are not many of them. They are controlled basically by 5-6 companies around the world. And I think these companies have a huge responsibility when it comes to caring for their users. I don't think they are doing a great job. I think there is a huge level of scamming in there, and it's not that hard to catch. My organization does continuous research on scamming online and the use of ads that platforms profit from at the same time that they provide this super powerful infrastructure to scam. So I think for me the first word that comes to mind is accountability. I think we are very, very much used in consumer protection law across the union for decades. That there are certain spaces that are very important, and even if they are private, the owner of the space has a responsibility towards consumers to protect them from. So I think on that would be my very first thing. Of course, I think the intersection with digital literacy programs that you were already mentioning, and I couldn't agree more about the word literacy and what it implies in all the wrong senses. We are probably using now more education and other ways of training, because really literacy, I don't think it fits a whole. But to the question, I think obviously is everyone can be scammed, but it's true that my mom has a harder time than my kid identifying whether or not this text message that just arrived to her phone is actually genuine. I don't want to be naive about it, because I think in my experience it's true, and in the experience of my organization that is true as well. So I think it's important to I think most, as I was saying in the first question, I think most of the people that are over the age of 20, let's say 50, they don't need to be told that there are people out there that might take advantage of you. They know that. They have gone through life and they have learned that the hard way, as we have all, right? So in that sense, or critical thinking or all that, I think it's in the packaging and production of information that they might find it more challenging. Also, it's a question of how have you even how have you been accustomed to gather your facts and your information? Like it's not obviously for everyone, but I think everybody that was born in the 50s and 60s was born and came into life. Even if they adapted to new realities, they came into life in a world with a more number sources of information and an informational diet that was where sources were more easily identifiable generally in the European Union. I think it takes some digital literacy to understand that the capabilities, the same scammers that have existed forever, now have to trick you into thinking something is genuine. I think that's the real challenge. The fact that as Maldita has been researching, like literally 3 guys are sitting in a basement in Hanoi in Vietnam, and they have all the tools at their disposal to make you think they are a Spaniard of your same age from your same town, and to create content that seems genuine. I think that's the biggest revolution when it comes to disinformation in the last in history, probably. The fact that making credible content at scale is is easier. It's just I remember everyone here probably, or many of you have come from media literacy training in the past, maybe 15 years ago. What did we tell others? Like not seniors or youngers, we would tell them, look at the email. This Nigerian prince, it's unlikely, but he also speaks English or Spanish, making all these mistakes. It doesn't seem like that era, if it's not completely gone, is on the way out. Like now the Nigerian prince really sounds credible, and they have video and they have a very nice website. So I think that's probably where we could put a bit more attention.
Thank you. Patrick, in this same question, could you tell us how, and to please focus on the how can older persons be protected? We can't hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I muted myself. Well, the first line of defense is always awareness, obviously. Digital literacy or media literacy or environmental literacy programs must always include practical training on recognizing scams, phishing attempts, manipulated images, deepfakes, and misinformation. But let's not be lured. Right now, scams are organized in scam farms. That is, this is big business. This is big cybercrime business. So indeed, the advancement of those scams of fraud and AI-generated disinformation becomes increasingly difficult to discern. On top of it, we're not only speaking about online scams or online fraud, we're talking about multimedia fraud. And I can tell you that the generation, my generation, I would say, had a profound belief in and trust in, for example, telephones, because a telephone was a tool which you would only share with a limited number of people. Right now, the phone becomes a part of scams. And the problem is also that it's not only those big scam farms in Asia or Latin America that are going to be in charge of that, but it's also the companies themselves, the ones that want to sell you solar panels or that want to ensure that you change your electricity bills. So we're increasingly into a world in which the borders are being more and more blurred, and technology companies and public authorities have their responsibilities in that. Platforms should simplify reporting mechanisms. They should improve transparency. They should provide clearer warnings about suspicious content. Consumer protection agencies should regularly target information campaigns, namely towards older citizens, but also older citizens may also be more aware of the possibility of scams. The challenge, so, is not only technological, but it is societal. We must build resilience and critical thinking across all generations. We have to be able to stand up against the mechanisms that lure young people into the, I would say, an obnoxious circle of being drawn into the digital world. So those things I think we need to be aware of and see how we can go about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So this takes us to the response by the European Union. So how can Europe move from digital inclusion to digital empowerment for all the persons? Alicia.
Yes, well, I think from this side, it's important that we recognize the digital participation today is not an option. I mean, everybody should be included in how we design this legislation, norms, way of dealing with the digital world. And it is necessary to participate fully in society. If you are out of the digital sphere, most probably you will be out of many things in the society. You will be excluded of many things. So today is not longer an option. And I think it is particularly important for older people because, I'm from a generation, I was not born with a phone on my hands, but I was young, really young when I got one. And this tool make me feel engaged with everybody, with all the news, even the ones that are not true. uh, Even shopping, everything that we do nowadays, no, with the phone, you can do everything with your phone. But I see the older generations, my grandmother, when she was here, um, she preferred to go to the bank, for example, instead of using the phone that she never had, because she was like, I don't want a smartphone. I don't know how to use it. Take it out. Don't give me this present. I want people. I want to talk to people. I want to go and talk to buy something, to go to the bank, to go everywhere. No? So I think that we need also to look at this balance between, yes, the digital world is helpful, but for everything, but we still need people to take care of everything. And I think that in this sense, Europe needs to move from the logic of the digital inclusion to the digital empowerment. Of course, I still think that we need, people on the other side, but if you have the tools to know how to use the digital tools, uh, you will feel more empowered in the end. You will feel part of the society. You will talk to your neighbor and you will know what you are talking about. It will not sound strange. You are not going to be part of another world. So I think that we need to, it has been said, there needs to be more investment in this lifelong learning and reskilling opportunities. Even you are retired, you need to have the chance to keep learning. I think it's a right that you need to have as a person, because the digital learning cannot stop at school or in the university. It goes further, and training should be practical, local, and continuous because it's moving fast. So what you learned in the school or in the university 10 years after is is no longer 10 years or even 1 year after. You need to be there all the time. So I also think that a part of investing in lifelong learning and reskilling opportunities, I think that the workplaces and communities should promote this intergenerational learning, because if you are young, you are not 100% digital superstar. You need to learn about it. And even older people can know more about than you. So this should be intergenerational because it's for people. Of course, there is people that have more needs to learn, but everybody needs to learn. So I think it's important that we give um, this intergenerational perspective, and where young people and older people can share, no, also these spaces. Um, the third point that I would highlight is the fight against this age discrimination that, well, there are movements trying to put on the table, and the challenging idea that older people is less capable to engage with the technology. I don't agree with that. I know people that is older than me that knows really much more than me. So it's not true. And also, another point is that the digital transformation must remain inclusive. That is a really important point because, as I said before, no essential services, healthcare, banking, public administration, transport. I mean, it cannot become digital only because what happens with the people that doesn't know how to use it? So we need to keep this balance still. And finally, as I said also before, I mean, we need to design technology with older people, and not simply for older people. I mean, they know better than anyone their needs. And it was said before, and it's true, not everybody is getting older in the same at the same rhythm, let's say, no? There is people at 70 running marathons. I'm not running marathons. And there is other people that cannot move because they have health issues, no? I mean, not everybody's getting older in the same. I mean, it was an easy example, no? But it's true. I mean, not everybody's getting older at the same rhythm. So it's important also to take this into account because, of course, the solutions are not going to be the same.
Thank you. Carlos, how can European, or better said, are current European digital literacy policies sufficiently tailored to the diverse needs of older adults? Speaking and relating to what Alicia just said about this heterogeneity in the older population.
I think media literacy efforts could be more supported, could be more widespread, could be better funded, and could be actually better tailored, because maybe the experience of aging, as diverse as it is, and Patrick and Alicia talked about that, and I agree, as diverse as that is even more diverse when you think that maybe, getting old, someone with a post secondary education in Barcelona is going to have a totally different aging experience from someone who is basically literate in rural Romania, and it's very difficult. I think that's why the work of civil society organizations is really crucial in this, because the idea of a one-size-fits-all model for this kind of program that protects elder, and empowers elderly people across Europe, I think that it's going to be either too general to be effective or too prescriptive to be effective if you don't have these realities on the ground. So I'm mostly in favor of programs and actions that are diverse and that address real needs, and that are co-designed among experts and really the people who is taking the training as well. Because I think it's been said here, right? Like it's becoming more difficult not to be isolated if you don't have some basic level of digital and media literacy as an aging person. Like it's my mom is 82. She has a hard time. She doesn't have a computer. She doesn't have a smartphone. I would love for her, in this weather we are having right now in Spain, not to have to go to the bank and come back with cash, or to have to go to her doctor live to be there and actually check the appointments and whether or not there is an appointment for her. I would love for her to be able to do that, but that experience is, my mom's experience is not going to be reflective of everyone else, and I think it's important to also work with communities. I think many in the aging population, particularly over 70, there are problems of isolation, but there is also a thriving community-driven work from organizations of seniors that these media literacy and digital literacy efforts could build on that. So I think for me it's hard to say what is the successful model, because the needs are many and very diverse. But I like the question in the sense that it goes in that direction. How do we tailor that? How do we make sure this is gonna serve the human experience of literally hundreds of millions of Europeans, right? That's gonna be a challenge, but it's the only way. I think the possibilities for harmonization are much more realistic when it comes to kids who are maybe entering secondary education, rather than this particular issue we are talking today.
I am particularly impressed by these constant comments of the members of the panel talking about their parents or grandparents and their sons. So I can see this intergenerational inclusion, at least in this session. So this is a question for Alicia and for Patrick. What are the most effective models of intergenerational digital learning and mentoring? Whoever wants to start. Patrick.
Yes, of course.
Alicia.
I just wanted to say something still to the previous question, actually. That is, how can those public services be designed to remain accessible? It's all about the starting point that we want to have. That is, to which extent, what type of society do we want to create? Right now, our societies are digital driven. That is technology driven. That is, we have new technologies and we adapt our way of living to those new technologies. I think we should reverse that and look at what type of society do we want to create. And that is a citizen-centered approach, which would mean to adapt the services to people rather than expecting people to adapt to complex systems. That is a generic starting point. Digitalization should not, and that was mentioned before, not eliminate alternative channels. Citizens should continue to have access to in-person, telephone, assisted services when necessary. And the objective should be inclusion, not digital coercion. Digital services, they should follow a simple principle of universal design, simple interfaces, clear language, accessible formats, intuitive navigation. Also the fact that we know that we're speaking to a human. When I fill in a form, the form is going to check me first whether I'm a human or not. But very often when we are approached, we don't even know whether we're speaking to a human or whether we are speaking to a machine, basically.
That's a good one.
So, sorry?
That's a good one.
Yes.
A very good remark.
I think the most successful, in order to respond to your question, the most successful initiatives on intergenerational digital learning or citizenship learning, I prefer that term, citizenship learning, basically digital citizenship, because that involves all citizens independently of their age. Those most successful initiatives are those which are based on mutual learning rather than on a one-way transfer of knowledge. I know the technology. I'm going to tell you how the technology works. It doesn't work like that. Young people can help older adults to navigate digital tools, while older generations, they can also contribute life experience, critical thinking, civic knowledge, awareness of the environment in which we live. Schools, universities, local authorities, and senior organizations, they can facilitate a more structured mentoring programs that create lasting relationships and reduce social isolation while at the same time improving digital skills. This question of social isolation and loneliness becomes crucial because we see that not only amongst older generations that live in let's say rural areas and are confined to their farmhouse, this is becoming an increasing problem of loneliness. So responding to this intergenerational citizenship learning and mentoring can be part of that. And digital inclusion then means that we ensure access to devices and connectivity, but digital empowerment goes further. It means to enable older persons to use technology confidently, critically, and independently. And let's face it, our digital society is a mess. It is a mess. On the one side, because technology has not reached the levels that we would like it to reach, companies have different capacities in implementing digitalization of their services, especially also I'm working with Arab and European cities on creating smart cities. I can tell you, we are all in an exploring phase. Very few, they may have a few that have a digital action plan for the future, but many of them are in the starting phase. So we should really focus on lifelong learning, not one-off training courses. Older citizens, they need opportunities to continuously, older people, but also everyone, because the moment you leave school, everything's focused on schools now and younger kids. Older citizens, seniors, adults need opportunities to continuously update their skills as technologies continue to evolve. So empowerment also means involving everyone in the design of digital services and policies rather than treating them solely as end users that are capable or non-capable.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Is there anything you want to add regarding that question?
Yes, I mean, just 3 main points because I know there are really important questions yet to do. The first is just to, add to what Patrick said, is that we need to move away from the idea that this intergenerational digital learning, or however we want to call it, is that one generation teach the other, that the young teach the older. Of course, mentoring can be a good model, but the change needs to be both ways. Young people can also learn from the older ones. So for this, we need spaces where to share these ideas, these experiences, this knowledge, school, workplaces, libraries, or community centers. But I think that we need to move beyond, as I said, of the idea that the digital learning is only for older people. The digital world, as we have been saying, is evolving so fast, and all the generations needs to be included in this learning. So it's good that, of course, we put the focus on the people that has more need, that is more vulnerable, but we all need about this learning.
Thank you, Alicia. So we're going to finish with a final question that is of great importance because, me with Belén, we are part of HelpAge Spain, that is a foundation, a member, HelpAge Spain as a member of HelpAge International. So this is particularly important for us to learn from you. So if you, Patrick and Carlos, could answer this, what role should senior organizations play in shaping digital policies at European, national, and local levels?
Well, I think. Sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
No, if I may start on that one. Let's face it, age discrimination is still the type of discrimination which is not reprimanded by law. Age discrimination is embedded in our system, even in our thinking. And I think what we need to do now is to ensure that when we speak about policies, digital policy or any other policies, we need to do it together with the persons that are concerned. That has always been the case with women, with persons with disabilities, with young people. We need to be involved and recognized as partners in policymaking. And senior organizations understand realities, concerns, and aspirations of older citizens and can help policymakers identify those practical barriers and workable solutions. So their role should really be, it should include consultation, co-design, awareness raising, training, delivery, policy evaluation, and also advocacy. Nothing concerning older persons should be decided without their meaningful participation from the design phase onwards. And that's also what we try to include in the recent conventions, for example, of the Council of Europe, whether it is on artificial intelligence or on cybercrime or other key digital policies. Thank you.
I agree 100%. Just the idea that these policies could somehow be designed without the input from the people who knows more, who can shape more, who can actually understand where the bottlenecks and the real problems arise. I think that could be a terrible idea, and I think we have some experience in history, or through history, some societies have decided that younger people had nothing to show their elders or to teach their elders, and some other societies have been working, and I feel like ours, to a point, in a way the other way around, like there is nothing that we can get from people over a certain age. I think the role of these organizations, first of all, is a fundamental right of political participation and shaping the policies that we adopt as a society. But even if you take that aside, it's really that the policies are going to be better if you take the inputs from this kind of civil society organizations in mind. So yeah, I think that is actually crucial, not only at the EU level, also and perhaps more particularly at the regional and local level. Organizations connected to the issues, to the audiences, to the target groups that are actually going to be benefited from these policies.
Thank you. So finally, given the fact that we are working towards an international convention on the rights of older persons that has taken too long, but finally United Nations is working on, could you give us a final one-sentence idea just to close this interesting session, please?
Well, I would say that if this is going to happen, invite young people, because to talk about the rights of older people, of course, but invite young people, because one day we will be older. And I would love to take part of the decisions and the policies that are going to be for me in that time, no? So, not everybody, a group, no? The main ones should be the most affected, of course, but I would suggest that.
Very good idea. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, Patrick?
Yeah. Well, my main conclusion would really be, and we are, as European Seniors Union, also very much involved in the elaboration now and the conceptualization of this new convention. It's clear that the challenge is no longer to connect, well, it is in certain continents, to connect older people to the internet. The challenge now is ensuring that digitalization strengthens their autonomy, their dignity, their participation, their security. And all of that needs to be embedded almost like a new right, in a way, in this new convention. Digital literacy, it's not simply a technical skill, it is increasingly a prerequisite for citizenship participation, and it's a danger for the social exclusion and an opportunity for social inclusion. So as we advance in this digital transformation, we must really ensure that older persons are not viewed as solely passive recipients of support, but that they are active contributors to our digital societies. The goal is not only to connect older citizens to technology, but it is to empower them to use it with confidence, with safety, with trust, and with purpose. It's, as I said, it's how do we perceive, how do we conceptualize our society of the future? And even if we are at a later stage in life, I think it's important to put a sound basis for the future. As the slogan of WHO Europe goes, is aging, living is aging, aging is living. Basically means we are all in process, we are all in transition from one age group to the next. The age groups have been created artificially because we needed to find a space for children to be in school and young adults to be in school and a bulk of people to work. And now we have a bulk of people which are over the age category that was defined 80 years ago, that over 65, you're old and you're useless. So we need to review all of that and see to which extent in this lifespan that we all have, without any precise indications of how long this is going to last, and is pretty flexible up to a certain point. That is, wherever we stand in that lifeline, we need to be able to be fully involved citizens, and that is what we need to focus on. Thank you.
Yes, to add a sentence on that, I think that's probably the key for me, like the fact that the whole purpose of such an effort needs to be to ensure that we are able to fully exercise our rights, regardless of our age, of our aging. And if I could have to say one sentence to the people working in the United Nations about this, I would say that elderly people is still, at least in Europe, the most affluent, the most politically active in terms of voting. And, ignore the threat of information integrity among older Europeans at your own peril. If you ignore the problem, if you don't think this should be at the front and center of this strategy, then I think the problems will manifest themselves.
Thank you very much.
I just would like to say I'm sorry. I felt I was a bit blindfolded participating in this conversation, for the simple reason that you could maybe see me, but I couldn't see any of you. So I hope this came across anyway. Okay, thank you so much. Good to see you there. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for our panelists. And right now, we are going to first see a video about the European project that is Level Up. And later on, we're going to do the presentation about the project. So,
El 75% de las personas mayores de 55 años muestra una mayor preocupación por la desinformación que los grupos más jóvenes.
Sí, yo creo que el colectivo de las personas mayores somos más vulnerables a todo, ¿no? Porque ya nuestra inteligencia no es como cuando tienes 40 años.
Y que muchas veces nosotras no nos damos cuenta y queremos aceptar todo sin analizarlo.
Muchas personas mayores consumen noticias sin herramientas suficientes para evaluar su veracidad o analizar las fuentes. En Maldita.es trabajamos para ayudar a las personas a enfrentarse a la desinformación con herramientas claras y accesibles. Por eso desarrollamos Level Up, un proyecto cofinanciado por la Unión Europea junto a organizaciones de España, Bulgaria y República Checa. Durante los últimos meses hemos creado materiales educativos para mejorar las competencias digitales de las personas mayores y reforzar su confianza en el entorno digital. El proyecto incluye 5 módulos formativos con ejemplos prácticos e infografías sobre desinformación, estafas o fraudes digitales, inteligencia artificial, salud o ciencia. También incorpora el videojuego Very, que simula situaciones reales de consumo digital para entrenar la detección de posibles timos y bulos. Ya hemos impartido formaciones a más de 265 personas mayores y profesionales con quienes hemos trabajado directamente estos materiales. Además, el proyecto incluye una guía didáctica pensada para que quienes trabajan con personas mayores puedan aplicar estos recursos en sus propios talleres.
Nos han puesto diapositivas, nos han puesto vídeos y ha sido bastante asequible, sobre todo para nosotros que con las nuevas tecnologías estamos un poquito reñidos.
Entra en levelup.fundacionmaldita.es para acceder gratuitamente a todos los materiales, el videojuego y las novedades del proyecto.
thank you so much. And now we are going to be in the table, Cristina, Alejandro, Rocío, and Belén, that we are going to present a little bit about the project and how we develop it. So hope that you like it.
Well, good. Okay, thank you, Philip, for everything. First, I'm going to speak it a little bit about what we have seen in the video. This is the project Level Up. In this case, and we are going to change the slide. Sorry. Okay, so first of all, this project didn't appear magically. In this case, we did a research. In fact, our partners here and also Maldita did a research about media literacy and how older people work in media literacy. And especially we focus on WhatsApp in that social platform because we've seen that a lot of people is the one that they use the most, and not only the one that use the most, the one that is also encrypted, so sometimes you cannot access. It's not public like social media. So in this case, we've seen some problems regarding scams or fake news of people that they trusted that same fake news without knowing it and without the intention of doing it. And in this case, that it was the focus and the main focus of the project. That is why you say Level Up, that the logo of the project has like a WhatsApp conversation inside. And in this case, it's important that we not only produce these materials, this toolkit, all by ourselves in our office and having meetings. We talk a lot with different other people all over Europe, especially in Spain, in Czech Republic and Bulgaria. And the ones that give us inputs from the first time. First, we did some focus groups regarding how we wanted the video game to look like, but they are going to explain it a little bit more in a little bit. But also the materials, how they imagine the materials and what there was the perception about the materials that we created. And regarding that, we got their feedback and then we changed the slides, the examples were real life examples. I think that is something that for them was quite useful because they can relate with that. And all the materials are in Czech, Bulgarian, and Spanish.
also in English, the toolkit, and also the guide is in English. So in this case, we try to have dynamics, activities, study cases. In the scams module is really fun because we talk about romantic scams, and at the end we give them different options of how it end, and they try to relate a lot and engage with the presentation because the storytelling, and it's really fun to talk with them and seeing how engaged they are with the presentation and how they want it to end and how it really ends. And we try to not make boring the materials. We try to engage with them through paintings, through real examples, through also activities. In these activities, like how create a secure password. Also, if who you in the health and health science and climate change module, we talk about who you have to consult with for different examples of real life. And I think that it make easy to understand, and they can see the practical thing about this toolkit. So we created in the end 5 models, one about general disinformation, one about scams, one about climate, health and science, one about theory, conspiracy theories, and the other one about interfacial thank you so much. I always, for in Spanish, is the other way around, and always I say this word bad. But in this case, I think the last module is really important because they seen a lot of news about it, but no one talks really about it with them. So in this case, they were really glad about that. And with the scams is a one that never the frauds, everything, they engage a lot with that one. So if we pass thank you. So you can see here the materials we created in these 5 months. All of them, they have the videos, the infographics. If we pass to the other one, and they also have the activities. You can see the secure passwords, the guide for trainers, and also the presentations. It's important you have it already also in the first table that you have in the entrance. You have all the materials in case that you want it, and also if you scan that QR code, it goes directly to the website where is all the materials. They are free for use, and it's interesting because now we are doing the dissemination phase. We've seen a lot of people engaging with that and also asking for more trainings and things like that. So we think that this toolkit, that also the trainers, we did several TOTs with them. They really engage with it, and they apply in their own local level, and they're asking us questions. They're sending us pictures of they implementing the toolkit. It's true that now we change almost all the materials, so we change all the materials, so now is the last version of it in all the languages. And we are really proud because engage with so many people and so many different levels, not only trainers but also other people, has been, I think, a challenge, but a challenge that we took it, and that I think that our colleague is going to explain more about it, Cristina. So now I'm going to give the floor to the colleagues from the La Universidad Complutense de Madrid. They are the ones that developed the video game that are going to talk about it. Thank you so much.
Hello. Okay. Yes, please. So as Belén highlights, there was a special focus on doing the interventions not boring. So we thought about gamified interventions. Why? What are the benefits of these gamified interventions? They are educational, which is quite important because we provide active knowledge for the participants. They gain knowledge, they gain skills, which is something interesting because it's active. It's not something passive that they see and that's it. They engage with them. They can have long-term results when they are good applied because people actually engage with the activities, so they gain more knowledge and more skills. And of course, they produce or they create higher engagement and higher motivations from participants. So we thought that gamified interventions, the project thought that gamified interventions were a really good idea to implement inside this project. So also, as Belén highlighted, WhatsApp was an important focus on the project. That's why the Anna? Thank you. That's why, okay, we are not going to be able to see the videos. No problem. I'm going to explain. That was the idea behind creating a video game that could simulate actual WhatsApp. So what you will see, it's a video game that looks like a chat where you have to identify different news. You see here you have, for example, a news about Kate Middleton wearing a hijab. That would be an example of a news that you can find there. So you receive a news and then you can use different cues to decide whether it's true or not. You can use the source, you can read the content, and using that information that is actually improving safety behaviors on the internet, that is just the main objective of the video game, you can decide if it is true or not. What happens when you decide? You get direct feedback, so you know if you are doing correctly or not, and when you make a mistake, you also have some more information about what happened. So, for example, check the source because it was not a reliable one, or you see like this image is created by AI because this different cues signal that is AI inside of the image. In higher levels, in the last levels, they can also interact with groups, like in WhatsApp. You can send the news to your family, to your friends, and to the people from the neighborhood, and then you will have actual chat reactions from them. We engage a lot writing those reactions to make them look like actual reactions from people. So you have, for example, your uncle saying like, "Oh my God, I don't believe you. This is false. It can be possible that Real Madrid is doing these things." So it has like actual reactions that you could explain from different groups of people. Anna? At the end of each level, you will see your score and a little summary of what happened there, so you gain more knowledge from your interactions also, because you see what was good, what was bad, what you have to improve for next levels. And at the end of the video game, you have a little summary of all the knowledge that was acquired during the game, like the different skills, the different tools that you can use to better identify this type of information. And of course, you also get a little badge signaling that you have completed the training in this information. So basically, it's just like a training field where you can experiment with information and disinformation in a safety environment, and you can practice your skills in identification. Alejandro is going to tell us a little bit more about the implementation.
Thank you, Rocío. Yes, please, Anna. So as here's the video game. If you want to, it's quite the contrast is quite bad, but you can interact with the video game if it's possible. But Anna, can you? Well, is people scanning? Yes. Anna, please. No, I can share you the link after. Here you have here you can see the three pages, three languages that we have translated, but our main focus was to the video game to be open. So obviously, if you want to use the video game, if you are from Spain, from Bulgaria, from Czech Republic, you can directly use the video game and try it. But if not, the video game is thought to be adapted, to be easily adapted to other languages and contexts even. So we have two main steps. If you want to do that in your organization, we have two main steps. One, if it's related with the user interface, we have an easy spreadsheet like an Excel that you have to translate to your own language, or we can offer an AI first translation, and after you have to review it as our partners did before. And Anna, if you can. The second is the platform we have developed, right? So every content, every news, every social media interaction that we have is uploaded in a platform. So we should send you the link, send you the password and the user, and as you can see, here's the headline, the body, language, if it's information, the type of or the theme that the content is about, and a lot of information, even the the picture if you want to include a picture. We have a huge or a big back office in where you can upload news, or you upload your content and adapt everything to your context, right? So it directly downloads to the video game, and you can use it and you can change it, right? So even for our partners, they can update and upload every if for example in 2 years the AI is in another step, you can upload and update everything without passing through us, right? And the last language is I give you my contact direct. So the last step is we have to upload the video game again with the translation, with the user interface translation. So if you direct contact me, I will share you with all the steps that we have to follow, and after a quick click, and it's going to be uploaded. So thank you so much. And Christina, if you want to
continue.
Continue, yes.
Okay. I'm starting directly. It was a pilot that Level Up is a pilot that was testing a new approach and new methodology for media literacy for elderly people. So maybe next slide, please. This is the pilot at a glance. I will not repeat the data. You can see them. So next slide, please. The approach was to train first trainers, and then to select. We were training like for at least in each training session 20%, 20%, 20%, like for 100 in Bulgaria. And then we selected it. It is like I'm giving Bulgaria as an example, but this was an approach in each country. And then we selected 15 participants for live training. And we went through the training material in depth with them, so they can live the experience by making themselves examples and training like in a live training, to give us a feedback what is working and what is not working according to them. So these are the results from their feedback. They said that these materials are relevant and adaptable for library, NGOs, and community centers. They valued the training materials as presentation with a good and useful structure, but they pointed out that we need to have a lighter text with simple words. This is one of the challenge we face always with media literacy programs, because we need to translate new technical terms into a simple language that is not really easy, because we don't have the words from this from our previous experience. And for everybody, it was important that we involved SCAM and artificial intelligence, because this is something that attracts the attention of the senior citizens. Next slide, please. And next, how the older people perceive this workshop. We noticed that the engagement increased every time we moved from theory to real case. They wanted to give their opinions, so they valued a lot the group discussions and to make some practical exercise. So, next slide, please. They also have positive feedback. We also have positive feedback from the participant. All of them reported the increased confidence online, improved ability to verify information, and increased awareness of online scam. They were ready to share their knowledge with their family, and they felt like better equipped to recognize AI-generated content. However, this is something that is also a challenge because it's moving so fast. Next slide, please. And the recommendation emerging from the senior citizens are almost the same as from the trainers. You can see this to keep SCAM and AI central in the training material and to reduce density, to have flexible timing. This is another challenge that I will focus on in the next slides, but some of them need more time. And then we'll now make the comparison because in 2019 I started the first program for media literacy in Bulgarian. So we had almost 600 participants until now. And there is a big difference with the participant 7 years ago than with the participant that we have now. So next slide, please. Earlier programs were around 3-4 hours, covering all the topics that are part of the media literacy curriculum identified under the European Digital Framework. And now we have, with Level Up, we have shorter version with separate model that fit shorter session and allow depth. This is important because what I will say next in the next slide, please. This is the attention. No, sorry, it was from the previous, but the attention span is decreasing with the older citizens in the same way as the teenagers, because the senior citizens now are almost so much time online as the teenagers. So their attention span is changing. They want to be active online. They don't want to listen theory anymore. So this is the first change that we observed. And the second one, next slide, please. They are aware now that there are risks online. They know about this risk. They know about this information. They know about conspiracy theory. They know about scams. They don't want to listen about this risk anymore. They want to apply practical to practice how to solve them. This is a new level with the seniors going online. Next slide, please. And what I can see is that we have a new generation of third age. This is emancipated and generation, much more confident online, much more confident as a whole, like very active in the social life. And this is very good because they participate in a lot of pensioners clubs, community centers, training, and so on. But at the same time, this confidence is a prerequisite for risk exposure. So this is the tricky point. And if we can have the next slide, please. Quickly, we have this, we need to go to support this increased confidence without creating fear. And this is the challenge. And next slide, please. This is one of the challenges that I think the previous participant in the discussion have also approached. But one main thing for us, for the 7 years we are conducting training for senior citizens, is how to approach the most isolated people, because normally in pensioners club and community center, in library, people that go there are active already and they are ready to involve in our trainings, but those who stay at home are the most vulnerable because they are alone. They don't have someone to ask for advice, so we don't know still how to approach them, and we will look for this. And I hope if someone of you can help us, please give me an advice after the discussion. And the other problem is senior citizens coming to training are not the same age, not the same technique. They don't have the same technical capacity and physical ability to stay at one place for a long time, because this is not like in school. We have the same age of children coming in one class. people that come to this training are really different. So it's a challenge how we can keep the same pace that is adaptable to all the participants. And this is something that we still couldn't find out how to be really effective. So also good advice are welcomed on this point. So I think that's all for me. So thank you.
And now, seeing that we are a little bit behind the hour, if you want, we can do the Q&A during the coffee break, and then you can approach to either of us, talking to also to Lucia that is going to speak, and Caterina that are going to speak later, that they are also part of the project, any question that you have. So now we can go to the coffee break and see you in a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now we are going to start with our second panel that is going to be moderated by Clémence Logi. And she's going to introduce you to the other panelists. So thank you so much, and hope that you had a great coffee at your homes.
That's great. Does that work? Do we need it, actually? Yes, it works? Okay. Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you very much for who is still here, for being here. It's such a shame that it's so hot and that everything's happening in Brussels at the same time. EU bubble and its conferences in June. But we will... I think we'll amplify all that content on social media and all this, because it's kind of important. I think in the best case scenario, we're all going to be older adults. So it's good to kind of work on it now to make sure we're not treated like babies when we're old, and that we're taught and we learn media literacy better. Just before starting, for some context, I looked for some data this week that wasn't mentioned in the previous panel, so I'll show it off. I read that 22% of the EU population is aged over 65 years old. That was in January 25, and that in about 60 years, this will raise to 30% of the whole EU population. So it's kind of a significant audience. And on the use of social media, that was interesting, that for the 65 to 74 age group, so I know in an age group there's a lot of there's a big diversity of people, of course, but let's stick to the birth year. So from age 65 to 74, the use of social media rose from 16.9% in 2018 to 26% in 2023, and it's probably even more now, so that's quite impressive. And 59% of the 65 to 75 years old use online banking, and 53% of them do online shopping. So it's kind of interesting data to have, because a majority of the population that's online is in the age group we're looking at. Anyway, so that was for my little introduction. I think the panel is going to be very basic. We want to have a first round on the problems and a second round on the solutions, and trying to be optimistic. And I think since we're a small group, we can probably keep the questions coming when you have them. I think it probably, let's have a discussion, I think, more than a cold panel. Cold panel. They're not all cold, but yeah. Actually the exact opposite, a hot panel. So I think shall I introduce each of you first? Let's do that. I have little bios on everyone. So on my left, we have, I hope I pronounced your name properly, it's Katerina Lukanichova. Wow, that was perfect. What's it? Oh. Even better than checks. Flattering me. So you're a media literacy expert working for Transitions, specializing in digital and media education for older adults. You have more than 15 years experience across media, technology and the non-profit sector. And you worked on projects supporting resilience to disinformation, digital inclusion and lifelong learning. And you've collaborated with organizations including HelpAida, which contributes to media literacy initiatives linked to SEDMO, EDMO and Google-supported programs. I got anything you'd want to add? Thank you very much. Then on your left there is Lucia, who you'll know, I presume, because you're head of the media literacy and education at Maldita.es. So you hold a degree in social and cultural anthropology from the Autonomous University of Madrid, and you bring experience from educational and social innovation projects with the El Puente Foundation and the Spanish Cultural Center in Santo Domingo. Exotic. And today what you do is you coordinate the education team at Maldita.es, designing media literacy and digital programs that help people navigate today's information environment with confidence. And finally, Andy. Welcome. A bit more local. You have been coordinating the team of Media-Wijs, which is the Flemish Knowledge Centre for Digital and Media Literacy, since 2015. And in addition to internal policy, you're responsible for digital and media literacy policy development and the European network. You have extensive background in digital youth work education and non-profit management, and you are committed to stimulating a constructive digital citizenship by de-escalating online polarization, disinformation and hate speech, and also empowering active and conscious digital connection and creation. So I think with that panel we're going to have so many answers on what's going on in the field we're discussing today. So my first question goes for Lucia. So from everything you've seen on the ground and your vast field experience, what do you consider that digital divide actually costs an older person in Spain? I mean, beyond the statistics, like concretely in their day-to-day life, in the relationship to their family, sense of independence, etc.
Well, thank you so much, Clémence. Yeah, I think the repercussions, and when we see the statistics, you don't actually like get to understand what happens. I think as a society we've integrated tech without much reflection, and if we think about our own use on the past years of and how it changed and how we introduce things in Spain, now we have Bizum, for example, that it's something that you can send money to one another, and that's fairly new, but we've integrated without discussion. Like now we don't even think about going out with our friends, and when someone doesn't have a Bizum, we actually bully him. So I think all of these technologies that we've accepted unconditionally, and we haven't really reflected on what happens when you are left out of them, and the consequences that come with being left out of them. So from loneliness to cognitive the cognitive we saw it on the pandemic as well, no, people who were at their houses and couldn't have a good connection, the cognitive decline went up. The relationships and their social relationships also took a hit. So we need to, when we think about how to incorporate these technologies, or how to bring everyone to these technologies, we have to do it in this cross-cutting way, that it's not only because you need to have service to the bank, which also you have to, but because family communications have moved from the phones through WhatsApp groups, right? So if you are not on the WhatsApp group, then you won't receive the vacation pictures. You won't see the family end of class videos, and you won't know what's going on with everyone, right? So yeah, I think, like, for me particularly, and what I've been seeing, and what I've when I've worked with this, what I find more distressing is that this care, the what I call the digital care, has been put in the families as well. So if you are having trouble with these digital things, or you need help or support of any kind, this care has been put on your sons and on your more close nephews, and we know, and probably you know, that we treat our family, we're harder on our family than we are on other people usually. So when my mom tells me something, I tend to have less patience with her than I have with with someone at my work, for example. And it triggers me things that other people don't trigger me. So putting the digital care on the families is something that I think, as a society, we need to also rethink, because it adds one more thing to the table. So yeah, accelerating this process of dependency, straining the relationships, making people be more isolated, and I don't know. I think another thing that I've seen working with technology, older people, media literacy, critical thinking, I've seen a very big difference between men and women, for example. And I think the key difference is that women are less worried to ask for help usually, and that's actually something that can save you at some point, and asking for can act as a lifeline, kind of. So yeah, thinking that we need programs, and we need as a society to take care of these, and to like be serious about it, and not put it, for example, in the families, and like bring in spaces that they can find to ask for this help, that it's a normal help that anyone could need, because we've incorporated the technology without really questioning about it, I think. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Yeah, it's true. And I wonder when the switch happens, of when you download all those apps and you just like take it all in easy, and then suddenly the new stuff just gets a bit complicated. It's what Patrick was saying as well. It depends on so many factors, but yeah, I wonder when it's going to happen to me, when it's one day you just switch and you need to ask your children or your nephews or how to do it for you. Thank you very much. Now, my next question goes to Katerina, because you've worked across media, tech and non-profits for 15 years. So from your experience, what has surprised you the most about how older adults actually relate to disinformation? And not taking our assumptions, because we're all professionals here, but how they actually relate to this information. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well, and for opening this discussion, because I think it's always so important, like making a noise around these topics. So at least what we can do is good that we are here today and we can talk about it. I'm very happy also that we already touched lots of the points which are very important to repeat all the time. I think that and you already said it, and Patrick said it on the first block as well, that the seniors, of course, are not like a homogeneous group of people. We see it also every day, so I can just only confirm that. And so then for me it was even surprise coming from like not senior friendly environment from the technological world. And then when I came to the NGO world, especially focused on seniors, was full of surprises, to be honest. But I think it, and the most of the things changed also within the times I am in transitions in the organization journalistic NGO, where we also focus on education of the journalists, but also education of the elders. I think from the very beginning, it was searching for trustworthy sources, searching for information where I can gain information and like correct information, trustworthy information. But I have this feeling that it changed a bit, and our role changed completely during the COVID and during the COVID and after the COVID, where the people start to ask us, okay, it's doesn't matter for me actually whatever the information is true or false, but the whole conversation changed into, okay, my lifelong friend keep on sending me conspiracy theories and conspiracy emails. What can I do, and how not to lose this relationship? So the problem became completely different, and our role became kind of different, from searching as a journalist to how to verify the information, to how to work on relationships on a social level, how to really treat our relationships. And I don't say it's our work to do something like a psychological stuff, but still it's super important to open the discussion. But also, while I'm speaking, I think also one very important surprise for me is, which I would like to maybe share with you as well. And I don't know if you agree. So then I will be super happy if we can share it together. Your experience is that our participants very often are, again, and it's connected for what I just said. They are not so much now focused on true or false kind of questions, but they are very interested in the motivations. So when on the lesson we together discover why someone is spreading the fake news, is the biggest like wow moment for them. So on the very beginning we did the lessons like like the fact checking events, which is still cool and it's still very important, but the biggest like a surprise moment in their faces and like kind of a relief, I would say, is when we like say, okay, they spread the fake news to make money. That's it. And it's like sometimes as simple as this, sometimes it's not as simple as that, of course, but to like show them it's not a big conspiracy theory where some elite group of people want to control everything, but it's just business as anything else. It's
you can see that in every age range, that everyone's like, but why?
Exactly,
why would anyone do this?
And then there's like, again, money. Okay, so or the power, the political power. So no,
why?
but
who can we put them in jail? That's the
Right?
next question. Sí.
But why? Yeah, why is always the most
Why
important.
would anyone do this? Sí.
Interesting to see that it's so for every generation the same.
And some of the things that I think Level Up brought up is because the effort of the project was on working in very different countries, different languages, and have similar and homogenic program that worked for everyone and that was adapted to every scenario, at the same time as being cohesive and similar, and having the same materials and everything is the same, and realizing that it's not that different. everywhere and how people react, and the worries that everyone is having in Bulgaria and Czech Republic and in Spain are the same, basically. So yeah.
So I'm just going to have a question from my curiosity. I mean, since we're not that many, I can just ask what's interesting for me. I don't know if it was the same for all the groups. I know that for the Czech focus group participants, apparently they were confident that they could spot scams. And I think that's not just for older adults, actually, but apparently in the Level Up report, they said that the Czech participants said that they were confident they could spot scams, but really, when we showed them the cases, they actually couldn't. So, is the overconfidence something you also need to we need to work on? And it's tricky because, of course, you respect the older adults, right? So,
maybe, I don't know. I was just, because we just had the discussion during the coffee break, and I just talked about how sometimes I see lack of confidence within our seniors and our participants of our sessions. So this is, but I think, yeah, sometimes when you work not only on the confidence, but also how you think about the media literacy in general. And I think we already touched it here as well. But of course, on the very first glance, you would feel that probably I read news, I watch TV, so of course I understand the topic. But this is something different, and I am very happy that we already said here that the media literacy is not something which you can say, yeah, I'm done and I am literated. And so we are very, very careful even about naming our lessons. And I think this is very, very the same in all, again, countries, to not call the lessons or the workshops media literacy workshops, because this is super unpopular, unsexy, and attractive. So it's always important to be aware even about these small details, which are then you attract the different people, naming it differently. And maybe here is one interesting point also for me, because as Lucia was mentioning it, and it's actually related to your point that usually in Czech Republic, and I noticed the pattern is similar in other countries, that there is 80 to 20, 80 women's to 20 men's on a lesson. It's sometimes it's even higher the numbers, so there is one man in the whole room full of women's, which is, even when we are talking about quite technical things, it surprised me because in a different age groups it's not such a big gap. So I'm very happy, to be honest, that AI changed these things, and with the topic of AI, where you already can mention media literacy and it's still literated to digital literacy and so on, it finally became attract more of the men's. So sometimes we are even 50 to 50 in a class, and it's nice that this topic is still very attractive for everyone in the end.
That's crazy. So it's the mention of AI that brings more men in the room.
For some reason, I don't know why.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Now, Andy, we haven't heard you yet. I don't know if you want to comment on what you've heard or if you're ready for your question.
I'll never be ready for the question.
Well, now I think about it, reading your biography, you're more focused on younger audiences. However, I saw you work on policy. So if we take a step back on that policy and institutional level, where do you think the system is currently failing older adults the most when it comes to media/digital literacy?
The most is maybe is a very difficult question, because it's just failing older adults, period.
Here we go. That's boom said. Thank you.
If we just look at policy and everything that has to do with digital technology, first of all, we, especially at the European Union level, we can see it's very fragmented. You know, we have policies on AI literacy, we have policies on cybersecurity, we have policies on privacy literacy, we have policies on digital skills for jobs, we have policies on safer internet for children, we have policies on audiovisual media literacy, there's media literacy and the MFA, and then there's also everything that has to do with disinformation, and it's all siloed in different things. And even looking at your background from the External Action Service, again, Stratcom and FIMI is another policy silo. And of course, we do see now that the European Union is, at least for that part, they are trying to set up this kind of expert center. So they're trying to straddle the differences there. But it's just not realistically what any person needs, some policy that is siloed that much. So what we have to do is bring all these policies together in our center and then bring them into one strand to the public somehow. So, and it's also, I think we try to do it in a good way, in that way that I think in 2012 our Minister of Media called for the civil society to start a knowledge center on digital and media literacy, or media literacy, as well, it's not called media. There was a lot of talk about the term in the other panel. So digital citizenship was something that was maybe chosen. In Flanders, we call it media wisdom. So it's also less focused, or it feels less focused on just the reading, writing part, and and the achieving part, but also something that's more in a process. And because 13 different parties started the organization together, there's a lot of different aspects in it. So digital inclusion was one important aspect from the start. We coordinate the network on digital inclusion in Flanders. Everything that had to do with social media and privacy and online risks was in it from the start. Creating media in youth work and so on was in it from the start. And then news and information literacy was something that grew more as Brexit and propaganda from ISIS and so became more important. So we combine all these things, and it also means you have different avenues to go into and different aspects that you can use and different policy domains that you have to bring together. And I think that's one important step within policy, that if we keep on thinking about, oh, it's an information problem or it's a security problem or something else, you will never be talking, you will never be bringing everything that you need to the person itself. Because the next thing is that the first thing that we do when we encounter this kind of problem is say, oh, this is very dangerous and we need to warn everybody, and we start scaring people. And secondly, what about the children? Yeah, all these children, they're so vulnerable and they can't do anything about anything. And the next thing we do is then, what about the elderly? Because aren't they vulnerable too, and victims of everything? Which is good, because that means that we actually go to the elderly next. The third thing is that we ignore everything that is in between, which is maybe the next problem we should tackle. But looking at, first of all, a lot of things are mainly targeted at sectors that have to do with youth. Secondly, it's starting from panic mode, so it's scaring people more. If we look at digital skills and digital basic literacy as it is filled in the European surveys, then we see that about 40% of adults in Flanders are not reaching basic digital literacy. 40%, 4 out of 10. And the European Union has wants us to have 80% coverage of digital basic literacy. So 40%, and what are they mainly not scoring on is aspects that have to do with security and safety. So they're quite good in communication, they're quite good in actual looking for information, but they're not scoring that well on basic stuff to secure your accounts and stuff like that. But what we also do is then, when we ask the silent generation, what is your what do you think about digital literacy, about media literacy, and so on, and how are you using the internet? And then what we hear from them is, well, we're not that confident because our kids keep scaring us. And then when we talk in the same research to those kids, who are adults, 40-year-olds, and we ask them, yeah, what are you worried about in this digital environment? Well, it's mainly our parents because they're so vulnerable. So they actually acknowledge that they are scaring their parents all the time, but nobody is actually doing something to help them. So first of all, we're looking at it from a lot of different perspectives, but we're not bringing it together. We're not looking at adults and older people from the start. And then what we are mainly doing is scaring people. The next thing we will do is probably also introduce an age ban. Everything of 65 and up, we will ban from using social media. I think, in July, Ursula will probably talk about banning young people. In August, it's the older people. That's...
That might lead to a revolution in the older adults communities, but do you have any comments? Because I saw you reacted on the banning on
I got asked last week if we could ban them. Someone said that and I was like, no. What do you mean? See, someone that had a parent, he was worried.
Okay, so it was a wish to ban them.
They ask if because there's the banning on teenagers, and if there was something about banning older adults, and I was like, no, stop, don't go that way.
Okay. But yeah, I mean the older adults we're talking about now, I mean, they've lived like cultural revolutions in their own countries. They've seen the fall of the Soviet Union. You're not going to get them offline, and they have a right to be there. I think that's where we need awareness. But thank you very much. I think we have an overview, and we already had it from the previous panel, of like the situation and the problems. I mean, it's a huge audience that's been ignored, basically. We've seen, and that leads to loneliness and cognitive decline, as you said. A lot in common, though, with the younger audiences as well. And I think institutionally we need to do more. I mean, institutionally and also in society, take that audience more into consideration. Any comments or inputs? I mean, you're all more knowledgeable than me on the topic there in the audience, so not necessarily. Okay, well, let's lead to the second round. Oh, please.
Very hands-on question.
I think we can hear you, but God.
I think it's for the online people. It's not because we're gonna.
Hello, my name is Jan. I'm from Belgium, from the Checkers and Knack. I'm a journalist. And my question would be, would anybody of you be willing to share some positive experience, something that works in a kind of show and tell?
It. You're ruining our show. It's our second half of the panel. Thank you.
Okay.
No, it sounds like you ordered the question. It's like perfect.
That's true.
Fit, no?
You're the transition. Thank you very much.
Grand minds think alike.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So here's the second round of questions about solutions and concrete and positive examples of how things work. Thank you very much. No, it's good. You read my mind. Please. So we'll start with Lucia, because you design and run those programs yourself, right? Or you have a team at Maldita. You have a team.
No one can do anything by their own.
Absolutely. So tell us, what's something that actually worked? Like maybe something that surprised you by working that you weren't expecting it to work. And that could be an inspiration for other organizations.
I think the most important thing, and it's what Andy was saying, is that what we are seeing is like these silos, and then the digital literacy, the media literacy, the fact-checking, the privacy programs. And when we were designing the program, when we were designing Level Up, we were thinking that I can understand why we work with them academically, or we work with those categories in the administration or in politics or so on. But the truth is that those no longer work in the practice and in the day and for people's life, because you have a phone that it's not only to make calls, and it's not only like you're reading the news on that phone, you're doing your bank things on that phone. So you need to integrate all of those things and take them, all of them, into account, to be useful and to actually work for the people. So I think a solution, and the solutions have to be very focused right now on support and supporting the people, and also on having continuity, because projects that last 2 years, or projects that are very, very, very well made and have very good results, but are not going to be people are not going to be finding those places where they can ask for help, or ask these questions, or have this support. That means that we are just I don't know, dropping drops on a big sea, you know. So I think also that I don't see tech slowing down for anyone. I think tech decisions are moving faster than legislation itself right now. We are not we are behind all the time, even with the solutions. So I think to actually do something that could work, we need to bridge that gap, no? And maybe we're not gonna get there as the techs are gonna be, and the platforms are gonna be there faster than we are, and we're gonna maybe have to accept that we're gonna be behind. And maybe the card that we can play is that support and that continuity of the programs, and that spaces that are adaptable, with materials, with I don't know, with people, with caring and care. But that means that has to be probably in public spaces. We need the public and the governments to be involved to actually work. And I think Andy has a lot more experience on that than me, and they work a lot of programs in public spaces and in libraries and in this kind of ways. But yeah, the learnings that we had that we needed to bring in 2025 have changed in 2026. So we need to be adapting every time, but we need to have to be able to be in that same space while adapting and bringing these answers and these spaces of, I don't know, tech care, or I don't know how to call it, digital care.
Please, thank you very much. If you want to. Yes. Oh, okay.
Maybe at the end.
Yeah, we'll just let people bounce back. Yeah. No, I was just I wanted pointed out what Lucia said is the continuity. I think this is super important as well, which is again, lots of organization, what they do, it's in a smaller picture. It looks like they have this some project. It will usually last 2 years. So within the project, you have of course some KPIs. So you arrive to some workshop, you did one time event, and then you disappear for forever in some cases. So I think it's very important to think about it, not only the sustainability of the project after the project, but also even within the project already. So I'm happy that already, for instance, in the Level Up, we already think about it, that there's it's a 5-step workshop where you can, of course, do the whole 5 steps, but you don't have to. But there is at least some continuity, and you always know how to continue. And what we did, so it can be already answered to some of the solutions, is that we we always have at least three sessions with the group. So they already there we are creating in the end at least some relationship. We are building some trust, and we also last 7 years we have online a senior online club. So everyone who went through our lessons, they can join us, and we have every month sessions where they can connect and share their experience. We exchange new, fact-checking materials. We discuss the AI a lot, and like we do whatever we would do on lessons as well, but we do it every month, and they can be part of the community. So like I think this can be kind of the sustainability we are searching for sometimes, to just be a part of the community and be you. If you are from some organization, or you have the possibility, like you are from a library, for example, in Czech Republic is the greatest collaboration with the libraries what we have. It's be the platform, be the place where the people can meet. I know it sounds maybe like very vague and not it's something what you think about it at first, but it's very important to create the place for the people in the digital age to have like real place where you can go to.
No, thank you. That's super interesting. And out of curiosity, I was just also wondering, how do you initially reach out to people? Because, well, the population density is very different from one country to another. Do you reach out by email, by social media, or is it in libraries where you put posters? I mean, concretely, I've just no idea.
I will try to say it first, and I think it's in every country is very different, but in Czech Republic we have the biggest density of libraries in the world, so that's why we are trying to gain from it as much as we can. And we have since our organization exists for already 30 years almost, so we have of course some history, and we can so usually it's through the libraries, because, and this is also super important, and another point which you can write down from my point of view is that it's always important that the participants are there from their free will. So that's why we decided not to go to senior houses, because sometimes, for again, it's my experience and Czech Republic experience, the people are not so like a voluntarily there and they just like, okay, there is like some speech, so everyone have to be there. But we wanted really to people make their own active decision that they will arrive. So usually it's this, and we are like creating the network from the contacts what we gain past these 8 years which we do specifically the programs for seniors.
We would go to the public spaces that they already use and they already have programs, so they will be the ones doing the calls for anyone who is interested, maybe on the workshops or the project. So I think that's important. It's like you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. We say that in Spanish. I don't know if it's the same expression in English. Like building a community or doing a call, it's hard, and I think it's a lot smarter to go to a place that they will go because they already meet there with their friends, they already have classes there, they already use the space, it's somewhere that it's part of their neighborhood. So I think how we usually do the calls when we need to, and I think that's where the programs have to be brought to, not like trying to do it in a different space or in a different and one thing that happens to me, and like that I've been like fighting with for the past years, and since I work in these things, is like we are very age divided society, so we don't share spaces. And when you have to do workshops with teenagers, you have to go to the high school, and when you want to do workshops with older people, you have to go to the center that they are meeting at, and it's really hard to bring those people to have shared spaces together and to have something in the same hours as they. So it's again the silos that we had administratively and that we have in the paper, we also have them in the spaces. And like all the time, we break our heads all the time, like trying to do these, because all of the things that we are teaching in these materials are things that teenagers need to know. And the fact that we are specifying examples that are affecting older people doesn't mean that the logic behind that disinformation or the logic behind those scams or the logic behind everything is the same, that it's affecting teenagers. So those conversations are very interesting. When you actually manage to do an activity that you can bring old people and young people together, it's super enriching and it's super nice. It's just very hard to do. It's like it's a big effort to actually bring people together. It takes so much work that at the end you kind of like give up at some point, because it's not worth the effort sometimes. So yeah, something to take into account.
No, that's true. It is important. And so in the report, the research recommends human positive storytelling over fear-based messaging, which is kind of general also for teenagers, I suppose. But it also warns against the paternalistic tone. I think that's really important. And from your examples, and including you, even if it's with younger people, because I think that's also an issue with teenagers. But do you have examples of what to do and what not to do, or examples where it really didn't go down well? Or if you want to share it, we don't have to. I have other questions, but it's just, for me, it's something like we don't know from Brussels exactly how concretely, what stories are we telling to. I mean, you've done it with the game. You're trying to do an approach which is like the game thing, not like the user is taking control kind of the situation. But any examples on what you've been doing, do's and don'ts?
Yeah, I think especially if you come at it from a disinformation angle, it's sometimes quite difficult because you go into polarizing topics. What we tend to do is two things. First of all, we try to establish some kind of way of talking about things that are not that polarizing first, or that are. For instance, we have this material specifically for secondary schools, where we go into us and them thinking, and we want to train them in this kind of how can we constructively debate things without just going into a polarizing dynamic. And first things that we thought, oh yeah, we're going to put one on migration in it, and we're going to put it in. Then we thought, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to do one about the taxes footballers pay, because all the people, the big footballers in Belgium, they have tax exemptions. Just football clubs have taxes, and so they're making millions. We're all cheering for them to draw with Iran. But whatever. But they don't need to pay as much taxes as anyone else, and it's interesting because it's not a big polarizing topic, but it's still something that people think, oh yeah, but is this right, and how should we think? Yeah, but maybe they will not play for our clubs anymore, or stuff like that. So you can have a big discussion about topics, and you can train the way you talk about things. That's one. The other thing is media literacy. I think that if you look at the didactics of media literacy, one of the main things is you try to work bottom up. So like we had this method that we developed or adapted about propaganda together with René Hobbs. The idea there was, how do you go into a school, especially in the US, and talk about propaganda, because there it's so polarized, the value-based idea of school districts, of parents, and whatever, what you can discuss in a classroom is so polarizing that you can't say, I as a teacher think this is propaganda and this is not. So what they have is they have this kind of websites where you load up, where you ask the children, okay, look for a video or an image that you think is propaganda, load it up, and then everybody in the classroom rates it from harmful to constructive. And then you kind of see, oh yeah, the whole class thinks this is a very constructive message. Yeah, half of the class thinks this is very constructive and half thinks this is very harmful. Why is that? And then you start talking about how the people themselves feel, what the message does to them, and then afterwards you go into what are the tactics that are, or mechanics that are being used here, and why does it feel differently for you? And it's because it comes from the bottom up, it's much more accessible, but also also acceptable to talk about it, because it's their own classmates who are feeling things and not just somebody who's saying this is what you should think and this is what you shouldn't think. So I think these are two important aspects to take into account.
Also, I'm thinking about an example. The idea when we thought, when we were designing the project of having a video game, was because usually we wouldn't think about older people being gamers. And we thought the idea behind all of this was like, I would have loved to see an old people stream, like streaming a video game. So it's like having these prejudices that we have, and these silos again of how we see people and what you do and what you don't do. So yeah, bringing these, mixing these things of like young people things with older people things, and they are gamers all the time. I don't know if you've seen a woman's Candy Crush ranking. They are great gamers, but we don't think them that way, you know. So yeah, that was kind of the idea behind it.
I think this is like great attitude, and it's like in the reality how it looks like when we in theory talk about like learning by playing, and like Scola Ludos, and like the whole Jan Amos Comenius theory. And this is it. This is like, it's just that everyone likes to play, and it's great to teach and learn while you are playing. And older adults love to play. They love to do the puzzles, the crosswords, the like whatever you can imagine. So this is actually like the very base of all projects what we do. We always do anything where you can play. So actually it's quite fun even for us in the end of the day. We are now working on a board game for like media literacy. So I think it's, again, we continue in this like logic of playing. And there is another thought which I also had when you were asking that and I had it in my head the whole today, that it's actually what I would just suggest to others, to really not just think about it and just like do it. Again, it sounds like just a claim, but I think it's, for instance, as I was referring to our group of the seniors, which we have, the every month club of AI experts, senior experts, we try to connect them with the technological companies and to already include the seniors in testings of the apps, testings of the like websites or some products, because usually this group is like held in their hands super big economic power, but they are not included in any of these in these like sessions, like and again, as Lucy was saying, for me, it's the funniest part is like, imagine the seniors as a testers or in some like really IT basement, but actually this like super makes sense because the application and the technologies are also for them, and they are not such a small group as we said today.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Did that answer your question? I think there's quite a few concrete options that. No, thank you for being a great audience. Thank you all. Shall we take the questions online?
There is one question on.
Wow.
Okay, so someone is asking whether there is any project dedicated to the fake news during the war times for elderly people. For example, the propaganda of Russia against not only Ukraine but the whole world. This question was directed to the speakers, but I don't know if in your case you know it. Maybe you can also answer this.
No, I'll let the speakers go first. It's on Russian disinformation about wars, I think. If there's anything specific dedicated to older adults.
We've done some materials on FIMI, and but not specifically for that group. The thing with FIMI also is that I think the examples, which is like what I think you actually adapt the most in these cases, are not directed maybe to, or like that targeted to that like a specific age range. I think they are targeting societies as a whole sometimes. So, but yeah, maybe we should like give it a thought and go through the materials and do some a specific module for older people.
Yeah, because once again, they don't have the same references. They have more knowledge or culture on what happened.
Yeah, there's probably FIMI that it's affecting that age range the same way that there is FIMI affecting younger people. I'm not the expert on these, but yeah, the materials that we made were very general. I think they could work with older people as well as they could work with younger people, as well as they could work with anyone in this room.
I think what you do need to take into account is that, first of all, across Europe, the disinformation landscape is different. So that means that not always the same things are targeting people. I think, maybe in Belgium there would be much more about migration in certain moments. But in other countries that might be, well, no, that's probably a topic everywhere. But, I think Russian influence or the Ukraine war is less of a topic in our country in disinformation than it would be in the eastern side of Europe, probably. I think maybe in Czech Republic that would be quite a very relevant topic. That doesn't mean that it isn't relevant. So that also would probably mean that it's easier to address it in examples for us, but it might be less urgent or less of a hook to get the public to talk about it in the first place. Because what we do, we went to community centers, we talked to people there, to the people who are working with low literacy adults or non-native speakers and so on. What they say, the real entrance point is these Bitcoin scams. This is what everybody is talking about, and nobody of the people who are working with these people have real experience or expertise in it at the moment. So that was kind of the first thing to go into, but that doesn't mean that you can't go into it further. I do think that there are already a lot of programs about Russian influence, but they will often be more in other countries. Yeah, that's just something to add.
Yeah, I think this is also right to say that it's we also, since we do this reports of the narratives in the countries, it's always interesting for me to see the different narratives which are around in Europe. but in the end of the day, it's also a surprise that some of the disinformation has no borders. They are like everywhere. And then at the end of the day, I am returning to my very first point, that it's not usually about like fact checking the exact and one information, but what is actually the meta narrative, which is like what is behind it. And then this is something what we have a lot in common. So it can be different narratives in Belgium than in Czech Republic, but at the end of the day, they are like, you know, they are working and they are like trying to affect your the same nerves what we have, and they trying to affect the same like psychological aspects of what we have in a like and how we behave and how we react to them. So I think this is super important again to say it here out loud, and why we are here on a like now on the international field here, that we have this such a international experience, and we can exchange these the experience, the point of views, because it's can be different, but at the end of the day, it's always important to not forget that it's only we are on the top of the iceberg, but go down and look at what it's behind it, and how we can fight it together, maybe how we can prepare take the good examples from different countries, which is great that we can share it actually, and and that project like this exists, so we can do it in practice.
Thank you all very much. I think we have to conclude, but I'm just to answer the question, give my 2 cents, and it's 2 seconds, and it's I maybe shouldn't do that because it's promotion for my previous employer, but I think EU versus Disinfo, which is the EAS website, it's not only focused about Russia and Ukraine. There's also the Clever Africa, and I think MENA as well. So that's it. Sorry to promote, but we do like what they do, though. We're all a big team trying to work together against disinformation, right? So I think I've had
super short note. There is lots of Ukrainian journalists which we support, and they created such a good materials for like this disinformation topics. So we can maybe, if there will be some emails which will go to the participants, we can maybe spread of some like inspo. So that's
of course. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the audience for your attentive ears and your questions, and even online. I hope that was interesting for everyone, and for me definitely, because I'm not the expert on the topic, and it was great. And keep on the good work, and we need to spread the message. If people aren't here physically, we have to online show that we did that great event. Thank you very much.